Yeah. Doe one. Rocky Mountain Sports Report, yeah, live and direct. Keep them shook, defend like Champ Bailey and Adam Foot, no joking. I'll block it out like Jokic, and now you see him blurry. Lost in the rain of threes from Jamal Murray. Oh, step up to the plate. Colorado landscape outstanding, reporting all the facts in. We out the park like black men, or better yet, Chuck Nasty. Cause RMS thought his family built tough, yeah. Like Ed McCaffrey, and we only got one rule. In my orange and blue, a mile high salute. So while the rest is lacking, I'm on my goals like stacking. Time to slaughter, be hitting hard like Atwater Gold Glove. 300 club like the Todd Father.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. How's it going, Matt?
It's going well. How are you, Dave?
Doing well. So, hey, we're gonna talk about the huge news. John Elway, stepping down as the general manager of the Broncos. He still will remain with the team, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We will also touch on potential candidates for the general manager's position, and then I know we're going to do something weird, something we don't ever do here at Rocky Mountain Sports Report. We're going to talk about positive things from the Broncos. So
yeah, no lock flogging tonight, guys, I promise.
No lock flogging. First time Matt says it, I will hit the remove button. He will be off the podcast.
Oh, can I at least say lock flogger? That's like the best thing I can say is lock flogger. So let's get the comments. Keep it. Hey, it's a follower-driven cast. So if you guys bring up lock, I it's a freebie, Dave. That's a freebie.
Right. So yeah, no, it is. If they bring it up and you respond to it, then that's fine. So, but if you start going down the lock flogging trail on your own, we're gonna have problems. So
will cut me. I'll get cut. Bench me, coach.
All right. Let me get this out real quick, and then we will get rolling. Any viewers out there, go ahead and shout out who you are, where you're watching from. So,
yeah, I got lots of good stuff to talk about tonight. I mean, we'll kind of give you guys the John Elway GM breakdown. It's been full of ups and downs. It's a tough one to see him step out and, potentially be on his way out completely after next year. He's been pretty much the hero of the franchise for forever. So,
yeah, he definitely has. It will be strange. I mean, but John Elway will still be around as the president of football operations. So,
yeah, for at least one more season.
Right. And I actually heard on the radio today, and I don't know if it's true, but Joe Ellis says he will step down after the 2022 season.
Yeah. So what that signifies to me is either the team is a lot closer to being sold than what they're leading on.
Right.
Or they're going to put the faith in Brittany and say, here you go, here's the keys to the franchise. And, that's probably going to be followed by tons more legal battles if the other siblings don't agree. So who knows? It's going to be a bumpy ride over the next few years with this ownership situation. That's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. So if you guys have any comments, questions, go ahead and shoot them to us. Your thoughts on the Broncos season, your thoughts on John Elway stepping down. Is John Elway going to be able to keep his hands out of the soup pot, or is John Elway going to try to look over people's shoulders, and see what ingredients they're thrown into the pot? Throw us your thoughts on who you would like to see as the general manager. I know Matt started a poll earlier. It looks like
that's everyone who's either been requested or has somewhat been rumored. I think everyone on that list that I had put out on the group page, except for Dimitrov, I can't even say his name, Dimitrov from Atlanta, is the only one that has not been requested for an interview. Okay. Well, he doesn't need a request. He's technically a free agent.
Right, and then Gary Kubiak, who's getting some traction, he was added by one of the
Yeah, it was by Antoinette and Clayton Bates.
Right, and he's actually got 12 votes. So, but right now it looks like Champ Kelly is, as I almost said, Champ Bailey. Champ
Yeah, it's
Kelly.
going to be hard. If he's the guy that they end up going with, it's going to be extremely difficult not to do that.
Right, right,
Um, right now, from what I'm hearing, there's three that are kind of beginning to separate themselves from the rest. That's George Patton from Minnesota, that's Terry Fontenot from New Orleans, and Champ Kelly from Chicago. Um, they seem to have garnered the most interest. Sources are saying that Patton may be the guy to beat. Others are saying that it's more of Patton being interested in the job than the Broncos being interested. There has to be some, there's mutual interest if the request has already been submitted. Um, the early front runner was Champ Kelly,
right.
and he was here for a while. He's got ties to the franchise. He was a big player in obtaining Peyton Manning. One of the bigger reasons to why Peyton came here is he really bonded with Champ Kelly. They had a good relationship during that recruitment process. So he's a big free agent guy. Then you you move over to Terry Fontenot from New Orleans. He's been in charge of their scouting department for a while. He's found names like Mike Evans, Alvin Kamara, uh, Armstead, their guards and tackles. So I mean, he's got an extensive draft record, which has been our biggest struggle since Elway took over. So the last 10 years.
Right. Yep.
So
well, and Champ Kelly also worked with Fangio in Chicago. So there's that that link there as well. So we'll see how it shakes out. It seems like Champ Kelly is sought after, highly sought after. So
yeah, those top three that I named, it seems like they're being tied to every opening in the league right now. So that's what makes it really hard to decipher what's real and what's not.
Right, and I think Denver's going to have to move sort of quickly if they want to get the person they really want. So
yeah,
especially if it's one of those top three. But how about Ziegler from the Patriots? I mean,
he's the one that I don't really have much information on. I mean, Patriots executives are always highly sought after, and then they kind of fizzle out. Same thing like their coaches.
right.
So I would hope they cool the jets on him. The reason why a lot of people are suggesting that Fontenot and Kelly are leading the charge is yesterday in Ellis's press conference, he stated that he really wanted to bring diversity to the Broncos organization. He feels that's something that their front office is lacking. It's been lacking for a long time. He feels that with the times changing and with the current diversity rate of what the roster is, he feels that diversity speaks well and it'll speak better to the group of players they have. I think he referenced that. I think he said 75% of the roster is either African American or black,
Right.
and he highlighted that was one of the things that they were highly hoping to find. It was a minority candidate. So far out of the list, it's been Fontenot and Kelly. So
yeah, and Fontenot with the Saints, and now what's his role at the Saints again?
I believe he's lead of their scouting department.
Okay, so he's not the one that got him into the negative $95 million cap space fiasco, right?
Yeah, I still So what Dave is referencing is we do our breakdown. NFC South. Did we post it, or is it coming out tonight, or is it coming out tomorrow?
It'll probably come out tonight or tomorrow morning. So,
okay,
but
yeah.
we can talk about it too if you want. So
Yeah, so I got the pleasure of taking over the Saints as a hypothetical general manager, and I was all excited for. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna find Bree's successor. Where can we look? And then I hop on over the cap. I see negative like $95 million. So 95 in the red. I'm like, this can't be right. I head over to Spot Track. They have it at negative $97 million. I don't know how that happens. I have no clue, and I know the cap pretty well. That's one of the things my strong suits are. I don't know how it was allowed to get that bad, but even if Brees retires, they're still on the hook for his dead money. So there's no cap relief there.
right.
So they're gonna have to get creative with their cap, or they're not gonna even be able to sign their draft class.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They have to get into the green somehow, and I have no idea how they're going to do it. So maybe that's why we're hearing names like Michael Thomas maybe getting thrown on the trade block, or some of these other.
Huh?
They may have to. I mean, you're losing a franchise quarterback. I mean, Sean Payton's still there. He can make magic work with almost nothing. So, I mean, they might have to. I don't see any other way as them getting out of the cap destruction they've put themselves in.
Right, and another team in that division that has got themselves in one of their ex GM is one of the names on this list. What
Thomas
was it?
Dimitrov.
Dimitrov. He has them at about a negative, I believe it was $37 million. So it's like, how do these people do this?
It,
And
it has to be guaranteed money and signing bonuses that has it thrown off. So I mean, there may be creative ways they could allocate the funds. They can convert the signing bonus into guaranteed cash up front, take money off the books. I mean, there's ways they can do it, but 33 million seems, or 37 million seems reasonable to navigate. 95 to 97 does not.
right.
Um. So
Well,
yeah,
let's jump back to John Elway for a
yeah.
minute.
We'll go to Elway and then we'll come back to these
So
candidates.
so John Elway on Monday, and apparently this has been in the works for several weeks. So John Elway announces that he is stepping down but stepping up. So he stepped down as the general manager of the Broncos, and he's saying stepping up, but he was already really in this role as the president of football operations. So that's what his new position is going to be for at least the last year of his contract, and then we'll see if Elway just decides he wants to retire, and then go enjoy life, or if maybe he's gonna, try to get a contract extension or something. The timing of this whole thing. I mean, what do you think of it, Matt? Because we got this whole situation with the Broncos, and the ownership issue, and you're bringing in a GM that the team more than likely is probably going to be sold during calendar year 2021, unless something crazy just happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you bring in a GM and then you get a new owner, and does the new owner just scrap that person?
It's difficult to navigate because there's so many things going on, because they got the legal battles, they got Brittany's supposedly the heir, then there is the sale rumors. It's just really difficult to navigate what the real truth is right now. The timing right now doesn't really make much sense to me either. Typically, when a new owner comes in, just like when a new GM comes in, they want to start fresh with what they have. The one thing I can see is that maybe in Joe Ellis's philosophy, maybe he's trying to set up the team with a successful role, leave it in the way that Pat Bowen would have hoped it would be. So maybe back on the treads of success. Maybe we're right in Kansas City's coattails next season, making a step back in relevancy in the AFC West. Maybe that's his goal. Maybe he's just trying to make it look like it's better than what it really is. For the sell, I mean, it's difficult, but right now, it didn't really make sense for John to walk away from the GM role with all of the questions surrounding the Broncos franchise. It really didn't. So, but I mean, there was also rumors that Joe Ellis had this conversation himself with John and said, John, you've done this for a while. This is 5 seasons we've missed the playoffs now. We want you on this. We value your opinion. We value what you've done for the team in both roles, player, GM. But maybe it's time to let someone else get control of this player personnel and really develop these rookies and and things like that. Then people say, oh well, if they're bringing a new GM, why didn't they fire the coaching staff?
Right.
Right now, it doesn't really make sense to fire them, even though they played terrible. They really were. I mean, sorry, they coached terribly this season. I mean, the last 2 seasons, really. We've already said it. It wasn't really much of improvement over Vance Joseph so far.
Yeah, and Scott.
That's just
No, it wasn't. It's over a 2-year period is a 1-game improvement.
yeah.
So and I think another reason the Broncos did not fire this current coaching staff is they don't want to be paying on the hook for paying for 2 ex-coaching staffs.
Yeah, exactly.
So that money starts to add up, and I think they're just going to bite the bullet, and they're going to let Fangio finish at least probably the 2021 season out, and then if the new owner comes in and decides they want to clean house and get rid of the GM and get rid of the coaching staff and everything else. So
the one thing that makes it fishy to me is I don't I don't see. I think if they bring in a GM, whether the new owner is coming in or not, there's probably going to be some kind of clause or maybe job security for that person. I mean, there's going to have to be something, or they're not going to be able to attract anybody. Nobody really wants to do a 1 year rental job as a GM.
Right. No, I agree 100%. Yeah, there probably will be something in there, and that'll probably be a clause of the sale of the team is that this GM has to stay on for X amount of years before, you know. So,
Yeah, and I mean, if the sale is closer than what we originally imagined, there could be communications with this owner of like, what are you looking for, and they're trying to suffice that by doing their own kind of interviewing and things like that. Or if the team really is going to be moving over to Brittany Bowen, they may be looking for the GM themselves to establish now that's going to help ease her transition into being the natural owner. She lacks the experience. She's significantly younger. So maybe they are looking to get that more, familiar face in the league, good experience. It's got a good reputation to ease that transition. I mean, that could also be the possibility. I mean, there is no true guarantee that the team is going to be sold.
right. No, no, it's not a guarantee. So, just a lot of things are pointing to the sale of a team. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much right now, if you look at the entire situation as a whole, five of the Bowen kids aren't really involved. Well, I mean, I guess you could say four because Amy's somewhat involved in that lawsuit. So Beth Bowen Wallace and Amy, I can't remember her last name, Bowen's other daughter, they have a lawsuit against the trust claiming dad was unfit. They started that I think in like late 2019 is when the suit was originally filed. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong on the date. But then she comes out after just literally like a week after the news came out that the trial was going to be pushed to like mid June or July
yeah, it's in
of this year,
July. It's
July.
July of 2021, and one thing that Joe Ellis said in his press conference yesterday that was sort of interesting is because somebody asked if Beth or if Brittany was going to be involved in the general manager interviewing process, and he said she will not be involved in the interviewing process, but she is doing some due diligence and doing some searching and screening of candidates and things like that. So maybe she may not be in there doing the interviewing per se, but she as she looks at these candidates, she may be giving her recommendations to the interview panel, which from what I hear is going to be Joe Ellis, John Elway, and Vic Fangio will be the three people interviewing for the GMs.
Yeah, Matt Russell's also going to be involved in some sense. I think he's helping doing in the screening process, not so much the interview.
Correct.
And then I can't remember his first name. Something Smith is going to be involved in the interviews as well.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. I want to say it's Patrick, but I think that's wrong.
It might be Patrick Smith. So, and yesterday Joe Ellis didn't mention that name, but maybe that's changed.
Yeah, there was a tweet that came out about probably 45 minutes before we hopped on.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, and Scott brings up a interesting point here. With other GM roles available, I don't see anyone wanting to come to Denver. If Brittany is the future owner, then she should be included in the final decision as the future GM. And maybe that's what Joe Ellis was sort of alluding to, without coming out and saying, Brittany's going to be involved in the decision, because maybe he just doesn't want to tip his hand yet that maybe there is something in the works for the other Bowling kids to transfer their ownership rights over to Brittany, and she'll take over the team. So who knows what's going on?
Yeah, like I've been saying it all week since John Elway said down in our group chats that something just doesn't feel right about this entire situation. Something's definitely fishy. I can't. I mean, we're not on the inside scoop, so we don't know. But something
Right.
just seems off about the entire transition. With I mean, if Brittany was truly going to be the owner, you think she would be a part of it? I mean, the only thing that I can think of to why she wouldn't be is, GMs don't really know her. Do they have, can they hold her for a high regard? Does it look unprofessional to have someone who's not prepared for this role involved?
Right.
Could it potentially maybe push some of these higher named candidates away as someone who's really not qualified to be there yet as part of this interview?
Right. And most of the interviews are going to be done, via Zoom and things like that. And Brittany may watch in and just not be involved in questions and answer sessions, and then she'll have some input on the final decision. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we truly don't know what's happening behind the closed doors. I mean, like what you said, very well could be. You could have multiple people on Zooms, just even listening.
Yeah, and then and maybe there's something in the works to get Amy and Beth to drop their lawsuit that they have pending in court. So to get this going. so
No, it's my
so
kids.
that's our sound effects guy.
Yeah, that was kind of this guy.
Slamming the
I,
door.
I should say gal.
That was someone slamming the door, telling that way get out.
Yeah, well, she's heard dad talk fair enough about Elway and the
so
struggles we've seen. So maybe she was just expressing what we've all felt by
yeah,
slamming the door.
yeah. And Scott had this other comment here too, and I threw it up, but didn't really talk about it. And can Sakic share some of his magic abilities? And I hope so, because Sakic has done a great job over with the Avalanche,
Yeah,
and turning that organization around. So maybe he'll come over and sprinkle some GM fairy dust on whoever the GM is. So,
yeah. I mean, going back into the potential GM role, what seems to be the thing that they're really looking for is someone who has some kind of continuity and relationship with the Broncos in the past. It looks like that's really what they're highlighting on. That's why Champ Kelly keeps being thrown out as a lead guy. There was Adams Peters, who was kind of thrown out there for a little while. John Spytek from the Bucks was thrown out there for a while. Um, there was one other one I'm just drawing a blank on his name that have had ties to the Broncos. Someone who's familiar with the organization's like mission statement and standards are. Um, so I mean that's also playing a big factor into it, and maybe that's why Brittany's not involved. If they're really truly already highlighting somebody that already knows her, what's the point of having that extra person in if this is your lead guy and
right.
he's already got the knowledge of who's on this team.
No, and yeah, Peters has sort of fizzled out. I know at first his name was super hot,
Yeah,
and he sort of fizzled out because when it first broke, the first two names thrown out there were Kelly and
and Peters.
Peters. Yep, and Peters has definitely fizzled out a little bit.
Yeah, I think the justification behind that, as I heard, is if he was such a valued asset of that management team, um, why did we just allow him to walk away? There wasn't a contract extension offered to him before he went to the 49ers. They allowed him just to simply just expire and move on.
Right.
Champ Kelly was a little bit different. He got offered a better position and moved on.
Right. So, and not to break anyone's heart or anything, but I can almost guarantee you it's not going to be Gary Kubiak. It's not going to be Peyton Manning. Kubiak, I don't know if he wants that stressful of a job. He's had some health concerns in the past. And then Peyton Manning, he wants to be more into ownership, and he's not going to come to a team that's not going to offer him some sort of ownership package to be with the team. So, plus, I'm just going to say this. I want somebody who has experience in doing this. We don't need to go, and Peyton Manning may be great at it, if he did it, but we've tried this for 10 years now with a former player that really didn't have any experience, in the front office side of it, and it didn't work. He had his moments, and I'm not going to say that Elway was a total bust, because Elway built up a team that went to 2 Super Bowls, and he won us the Super Bowl, and he's rebuilt our defense, but he's struggled in areas with some draft picks, and we've talked about it before, where he likes to draft luxury over need, which I think has set this team back. He's been infatuated with chasing quarterbacks through free agency instead of just getting a guy, and there's a long laundry list of names that were available for us to draft that were passed over, that we could have had us a really good solid quarterback right now, but I think it's good for him to move on. I think it's a fresh start for the Broncos. I'm just concerned about if the Broncos want somebody they're familiar with and somebody that's familiar with the organization, and even though Joe Ellis and John Elway sit there and say the final decision rests with the general manager, how much influence is John Elway going to have? Is this general manager reporting to John Elway, or is this general manager reporting to Joe Ellis?
I think honestly he is reporting to Joe Ellis at this point. I think it was made from what it sounds like it's been made very clear that Elway needs to back off and allow this GM to do his groove. I mean, that's at least the message that they're conveying, that Elway will have no involvement in player personnel, coaching. I mean, in this sense, for Vic, he was involved in the coaching decision, but he's supposed to completely back off completely. And this guy's supposed to be reporting to Ellis. At least that, like I said, that's the message they're conveying. Is that true? We don't truly know. That's why I'm hoping. I mean, the most realistic possibility here, we're probably not going to attract one of these guys who have multiple years of experience. I mean, if Patton truly is interested in, the Broncos role and the Broncos are interested, he would make the most sense for experience wise. He's been an assistant GM forever in Minnesota, so he knows what the GM role entails. He's not going to want Elway or Ellis looking over his shoulder. They're going to allow him to do his thing. But yeah, you take turn around and look at somebody like Champ Kelly. He's technically a first-year GM, but he's been around forever. They respect him as a person. How much do they respect his ability as a GM? That's going to be in question. Is Elway going to kind of push the influence like he has? I mean, we truly don't know at this point.
Right, and the statement that really concerns me is Elway says, I'm always going to be here for them. They can come to me anytime they want advice. They can come to me. I'll be a sounding board. I'll give them, my input. So it sounds like John Elway doesn't want to let go totally.
Yeah. I mean, it could.
I don't blame him. I honestly think the way this whole thing went down, and this is my conspiracy theory, is Joe Ellis went to John Elway and said, we got two options here. You either step down as the GM and we'll put you into a position where you can finish out your contract, or you will be just terminated. And one, who wants to be the person that fires John Elway? The guy's a legacy in this town, So, and who wants to carry that within that? Oh, I fired John Elway. You don't want to carry that baggage with you here in Denver. If you're going to move out of town, never be seen around Denver again, then yeah, who cares? But
go ahead to be the villain of that story.
Right. So,
but I tend to agree with you. I think that is how it went down. I think as the transition of ownership is going to happen, no matter which way it takes, they want this program to look like it's trending up. And I think to this point, it feels like maybe Ellis has lost the ability to trust Elway with that, because we've been stagnant and we seem to be okay with being stagnant the last few years. So I think you are right on that. I think it was the conversation of Elway, we want you here, but we don't want you in that role anymore. We need to let somebody else handle the players and handle the the drafting, the scouting, everything.
Right.
One thing to keep an eye on, though, is I don't know if you've heard this, but John Elway is getting back into the auto market. He's purchased several dealerships across the Denver metro area recently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe he is preparing to step off completely. He's investing his funds into something else that's going to take a lot of his attention. I mean, we don't really know what the duties of his new role or this role is being. I mean, obviously, it couldn't have been too much extra compared to what he was doing for GM. So, with GM off, how much responsibility does he technically have?
Yeah, and I'm going to say not much. I mean, just from the way he was talking, about how he definitely will not be in the building as much, and he's going to be able to he was going to be able to spend more time with his grandkids and things like that. So it sounds like he's not going to have a huge amount. So, and Scott, and we did talk about this earlier, we may have touched on it before Scott signed in, but yeah, I heard that as well today. Joe Ellis did announce today that he would not renew his contract after 2022. So as part of the trust, that makes you think, okay, well, something is going on.
Yeah, I mean,
he's part of the trust, so he has to be in place if this team's not sold or or one
I
of the
mean, I
owners
wonder
are
if he
not
could.
running it.
I mean, I wonder if he could. I mean, by 2022, that means we've already been fined 2 years now because the fines are
Right.
supposed to come into effective this year.
What, in July, I believe, right?
Yeah. So if we don't have a majority owner by then, it's $2 million per individual involved in a $10 million team fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got 7 hands in the pot, so there's 14 million
Right.
right off the bat. $10 million fine. We're looking at $24 million in fines next year.
Right.
So
And yeah, that starts to add up. $24 million isn't chump change. I don't care if you
I
have a
no.
team valued at $3 billion or not. And how many of the bowling kids have that kind of money laying around right now?
Yeah.
Because all of their stuff's tied up, in the Broncos. It seems like right now, and I think there may be some pressure from the other kids too. That let's get this thing taken care of. Let's get it resolved, and either give it to Brittany and let her do it, and let us cash out, or whatever, or just sell it and we all get our money and go do something else. So
Yeah, and I mean it is a 3-person trust. So if in the event that it wasn't um, finalized or whether we're sold or Brittany's taken over by then, um, it probably would just move on to whoever the next in order of the trust is.
right. So no.
But I mean, it makes me curious. I mean, do all their contracts end in 2021? Or, I mean, is 2022 the final year for all of them in the trust? I would have to do more research.
Yeah, and maybe it is. So maybe all their contracts in then, and they probably won't be renewing. So, all right. Anything else on any of the candidates? Have you heard anything? Did Champ Bailey actually or Champ Kelly? Did he interview yet?
I don't believe anybody's formally interviewed yet. The last tweet I seen was interviews were set to start tomorrow, Friday, a couple, maybe one or two on the weekend, and then I think then finish up early next week. And then there was rumors that a decision could be made as early as late next week.
Okay.
I mean, like you said earlier, they're gonna have to act fast. The biggest thing is right now. There's I think what did I say? 6 teams that are looking for a GM right now.
Yes.
Washington, Carolina, Atlanta, us, and I can't remember the other two off the top of my head.
Houston is
Houston.
one.
Well, they already hired, so they're off. So there's
Oh,
5
did they?
openings left. Yeah,
Who
they hired
just?
Nick Cassero. That's the guy they wanted last year, and then New England blocked him.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Nick Cassero took over as GM for the Texans yesterday.
Oh, okay. Okay. I had not heard that.
Yeah, I can't remember the last one. It'll come to me eventually.
Right. So.
But the big ones right now to watch for: Carolina, Washington. Oh, it's Jacksonville.
Yep, that's right.
So Jacksonville is the prime spot right now. They got $70 million in cap space. They got 2 first-round picks. They have a direct shot at Trevor Lawrence, who declared he's going pro today.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's like the number one gig. You got an owner who's completely loaded in Shad Khan. So I mean, it'd be hard for any of these guys to really turn that down. So they are going to have to act fast on who they want. Because Kelly, Fontenot, and Patton have all been linked to Carolina, Washington, Jacksonville, and us right now. And those are all a lot better positions than where we are right now because of the ownership issue.
Now, what's happened with Louis Riddick? I know his name was out there, and he had interviewed for 3 different positions, and all of a sudden his name's just disappeared. Was he, a bad interview? Or have people moved off of him? So,
I mean, it's so early in the offseason. I mean, I think he interviewed earlier this season. Like
it
I think
was during the season. So
yeah, it was during the season.
The
yeah,
end. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they could just want to get a whole candidate pool. I mean, it's very rare that an NFL team does just one interview and says, "Okay, this is our guy."
Right.
So as now that teams have been eliminated, a lot of these execs are coming from teams that aren't in the playoffs. So.
Right. And no interest in Denver's part on Louis Riddick that you know of.
I have heard nothing. I don't think he's a name you're gonna hear here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the guy who commands respect and values values himself highly, and I don't think he's one that's gonna potentially put up with the oversight of Elway if he is involved, even though he says he's not. That's what makes me very fearful and because of the ownership issue, I think it's honestly scaring a lot of guys away.
And it may be, and you're going to have to get a young guy who wants to get in, like a Champ Kelly or
Yeah, so
someone that is going to be their first gig as a GM, where they can get in there and at least get their feet wet, and start proving themselves. So, and
yeah,
if you have
that's
to
what it feels
do,
like to me.
yeah,
That's why I think Champ Kelly is. If I had to guess right now, if I had to put my money on somebody, it would be Champ Kelly. That's who my money's on right now. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but that's who I would put down as the favorite right now.
okay,
But Carolina seems to have a lot of interest in him, so he may value Carolina's offer better. Uh, Similar situation, but there's no ownership concern. The team's going to dedicate themselves to him. Similar cap situation as well. It was highlighting the cap right now. We're at 25 million anticipated after draft class, exclusive rights free agents and restricted free agents. If all are signed, it would drop us to 10 or 11. Um, so whoever this GM is going to have to make some tough decisions. We've already talked about multiple. What do we do with Simmons? How do we get him back here? Is Vaughn expendable? Um, so there's a lot of players coming into team options this year. Von Miller, Kareem Jackson. Those are two to name off on the defense. Then we also have two defensive players who have zero dead cap hits in Jarrell Casey and AJ Bouye. In a hypothetical world where all were released, we could have potentially 67 to 77 million in cap. So we can go from 10 to massive amounts if they
right,
wanted to. I don't know if that would be the case. But there are some pretty big free agents coming out. Cornerback market seems pretty big this year. Safety market looks pretty decent this year. In the event Simmons does walk away, I mean it doesn't.
well, boy,
It
talk about perfect timing.
Yeah, Simmons. It's just so difficult because right now with the current leadership we have in place with Elway, it felt that wasn't the direction they wanted to go. Now, if you bring in a guy like Champ Kelly or some of these other guys, Simmons is a leader on the defense. He's really been the voice of the Broncos over the last few seasons. He's going
Right.
to be a guy they probably want to bring back. So I mean it now, but it's to the point to where if Simmons may not want to go into a situation like that, the ball is really in his court as well.
Did you happen to catch his
I seen
conference?
it. Yeah, I seen a snippet of it. He looked
Or
defeated, and he looked like
he did, and
it might be done.
some of the questions that they asked him and the way he avoided answering some of them, I think Justin's moving on. So
Yeah, at first we all thought maybe he wouldn't, but with the owner situation, there was some speculation that John and him had some they just didn't have a good uh, relationship in a sense. Um, I don't know what would be the basis of it. It would be purely
right,
speculation.
unless you can get a GM in here quick that can fix this relationship. So and apparently his former agent now works for the Broncos. So which is strange. So. And he didn't sound like he was too keen on that guy either when asked questions about him. So, and Kim does confirm that it didn't look good. I mean, yeah, he did. And they pointed out that after the game, Justin Simmons just stayed back and lingered on the field for a while. And
Yeah,
and he even said, I was taking it in. You know,
it's beginning to feel like goodbye,
it was.
and it
It's sort
sucks.
of. It definitely does. I mean, because that's the leader of our defense. It seems like Von Miller's probably going to be gone. I just don't see us, you know,
The
giving him.
the investment isn't worth the product at this point.
No, it's not. So, um, and he wasn't really much of a leader, you
Yeah,
know.
he stated that himself. We talked about that
Right.
on our very first War Room Wednesday, how
Yep.
he said that he needed to step up to be an actual leader. He felt that he's been lacking in that terms and being a vocal leader. Um, and I mean, there's so much stuff going on with that right now. People trying to, Vaughn's been in some of these lower sources with stuff that's going on. I mean, I don't know if it's real or not. I'm not going to comment on it too much. I don't know if did you have a chance to see any of that?
What's that?
The negative attention Vaughn's receiving right
Oh,
now.
I did see it, and
A lot of people are saying
until it comes
yeah,
from a legitimate source, I'm not going to pay it any attention. and it doesn't seem to be getting any
Yeah, I
steam.
haven't seen any steam on it either. I mean, still, PR team sees its negative attention in the media. It's all
and
over
and
Twitter.
and they don't want that,
Exactly. So,
especially with trying to sell this team or whatever's going to happen. With the ownership situation, it's just another black eye. It's a black eye that a GM probably doesn't want to come in and deal with, and so it's
yeah, I mean, honestly, it just hurts the value, even if it's false, even if they're not true. It's just a negative image. Unfortunately, we see guys, not as high profiled as Vaughn, um, get deemed with stuff like this in the media that ends up not being as accurate as what is portrayed. But it spreads like wildfire. When something goes up, it can't go down. It's going to be around everywhere. We talked about it with Jerry Judy. The tweets, when someone posted something on there, whether it's defamation or not, it's going to spread. It provides a negative image,
right.
unfortunately. We all hope for the best in that case, that, none of that stuff is true. Vaughn's been a cornerstone of this team for a very long time. But I think even before any of that came out, the writing is beginning to feel like it's on the wall for Vaughn.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, we've talked about this long before, and I think we were all in agreement that Vaughn, unless Vaughn gave the team a very, 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 team friendly deal, he was not going to come back. So, um,
Same thing. The ball's also in his court. He may ask that he doesn't want the team option to be picked up. He may not want to be a part of a team that's going to
no,
be, because now instead of the revamp phase that we've been in for 5 years, it may be considered more of a rebuilding
and
phase.
that's what I was going to bring up. I'm going to say fans now need to grasp that concept that this Broncos team, now that John Elway has stepped out, is going to go into a rebuild phase. John always had his notion that we were one or two players away, which we weren't. We still have some holes to fill. We have depth issues.
Got cap issues.
Yeah, we have cap issues. So we got a lot of things, and this team's going to basically go into a rebuild. And I think we're probably going to try to rebuild probably 75% through the draft.
Yeah,
And
that's going to have to be the focus.
and organically build our team, and then we'll fill in the gaps through free agency and existing players and stuff. But I mean, it's not just because John Elway has stepped down as the GM. It's not getting better next season.
Yeah,
And I think it makes it even more uncertain, especially with our quarterback situation now.
yeah. So I was going to highlight into that a little bit without flogging on block, I promise. But
Right.
I will say that John has done a good job of setting up this team with a ton of youth. The reason why it's not going to feel so much as a rebuild is because technically, if we're being real with ourselves, we have been in a rebuild phase for about 2 years.
Right.
So whoever it is taking over this is going to be getting it mid-size. Sorry, little kid distracted me. Um, is going to be getting it 2 years technically into a rebuild.
Right.
We've invested in a young offensive lineman, young defensive lineman. Our secondary has some youth in it. So I mean, he's getting the car half full. So
Right.
it may make it an easier transition to finish up the rebuild by investing in some of these quality talents in positions of need and a luxury position like the quarterback. Leading into the Drew Lock conversation, has he been great? No. Has he been awful in our market? No, he hasn't been. He's been probably one of the better quarterbacks we've had since Manning left,
Right.
statistically. I mean, not wins wise. I mean, his turnovers have been difficult. We already know what his flaws are. We've beat him like a dead horse over and
Right.
over again throughout the show. One thing that was brought to my attention, I seen it on Twitter that there's quite a few sources out there, and then Cecil Lammy kind of hit on it a little bit. With the transition to a new GM, he pretty much flat out said that general managers outside of the Denver market and the Denver media market feel that Drew Lock is a bottom tier quarterback. He's a bottom feeder, is pretty much the way he said, mid to bottom. No one, he's not coming in and no one's shaking in their boots. They're not feeling he's confident. They're not confident in his abilities. They're, he's been in his sense, he feels that he's been exposed. So
Right.
with the new GM coming in, and if that was the thought process from the guy who's playing like from the Bears or the Saints, if that's their thought process, there is not going to be a commitment to him. There's just not.
Right.
Which pick number 9 puts us back at Justin Fields territory, Zach Wilson territory.
Yeah, I don't see Justin Fields being there.
I think a lot of it depends on his game against Alabama, because he's
Yeah.
been fluctuating between 2 and 3 since the resurgence of Zach Wilson. So
Right.
depending on the board you're looking at, it's those two are flip flopping 2 and 3. It seems like every other board you go to.
Yeah, and I've seen some mocks having the Falcons pick a quarterback in, namely Justin Fields, at 4, which I think is just it's in my piece that'll be released of what my thoughts are on the Falcons picking up a quarterback at number 4.
Yeah.
Let's look at the so it's wild card weekend.
Yep.
Let's look at the games really quick. Just really quick, you tell me who's winning.
Okay. Rapid
AFC,
fire.
AFC Buffalo, Indianapolis,
Buffalo,
Pittsburgh, Cleveland.
Pittsburgh, because Cleveland's down who knows how many players.
Yeah, they're facing.
It's a really cruddy situation for Cleveland.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then this is probably the most intriguing game, I think, is Tennessee and Baltimore.
Tennessee provides a gigantic threat to the Ravens' weakness. Derrick Henry is a monster. I think we see Baltimore struggle, and Tennessee sneaks out a field goal and wins it in.
Okay. All right. Then we move over to the NFC. New Orleans Saints, Chicago Bears.
Breeze is playing, correct? Because I know there's rumors he got banged up a little bit.
Yeah, Breeze is playing, yes.
Oh, this is probably the toughest one I have so far. My head's telling me Saints, but my gut's telling me Bears.
And that's what I'm thinking too. Is the Bears? I'm going to pick the Bears in an upset. I think
I'm gonna stick with the Saints. Drew Brees is out there. I don't trust Mitchell Trubisky starting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't trust Trubisky. He's gonna choke. He'll choke.
And I'm probably dumb going out on a limb like that. So
well, it's going to come down to the field goal kicker. What the one thing that they struggled with all last season, and then they finally felt it secure. They're going to miss a field goal as time expires.
Seahawks and Rams.
This is a difficult one. The division rivals.
Well, is Goff back?
I do not know. I have not paid attention to the Rams. Let's do a little Google search.
I think Goff just had surgery on his thumb.
That I did see that they brought in Blake Bortles.
Oh, jeez. Guy couldn't even get off our practice squad.
As of today, it is uncertain. He remains limited. Yeah, apologies for bringing out the phone. I just didn't know the answer to that one.
That's all right. And I think I think Seattle's too tough for the Rams.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is a beast under pressure. Probably one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the league right now. I think if you look at clutch quarterbacks, the top 2 are both in the NFC, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
Yeah. And then we got the Washington football team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
See, I'm gonna go. I think Washington can beat them. Their
With
defense.
Alex Smith, yes, I do.
I'm not even going to focus on offense. I mean, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. I think he honestly has the potential to be top 5 receiver in the league. Dude is lightning fast. Never drops anything. His only knack is he's like 6 foot.
Right.
But their defense, they got Chase Young, Ryan Kerrigan. I can't remember. They got Allen, and I think it's Allen and Allen as their defensive tackles, both Alabama boys. The defense front seven's nasty, man.
Yeah, and I think they can shock him. I think they can put some pressure on Brady and disrupt him. So as long as they can control Gronk, that's the thing. And
he really hasn't been a receiving threat all year. He's been minimally involved. He's really been just their blocking guy.
Well, and every now and then you'll see him bust out, with a decent game. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I can't remember who it was with, but I think he had 2 or 3 touchdowns. So
yeah, Mike Evans is I think there's a potential he may be out of that game as well.
And then they have Antonio Brown.
Yeah, since he's been there, he's disrupted their passing offense more than anything.
Well, I think just because they're trying to get the ball to him more than they should. So
yeah, they already have a better version of Antonio Brown on that roster, and Chris Godwin. Godwin's a monster. He's the same thing. Scary Terry's fast.
Yeah. So Super Bowl, who's your picks?
Green Bay and Kansas City.
Green Bay, Kansas City.
Buffalo is the only team.
I'm gonna go
Buffalo
Green
kid.
Bay and Buffalo.
I'm
I
hoping.
think
I'm hoping.
I think Buffalo's offense is just on fire right now. And
Buffalo and Tennessee
they
have the keys to the kryptonite for Kansas City.
yeah,
They're the
and
toughest matchups.
I think Buffalo can match Kansas City, point for point, and I think Buffalo may have a little better defense than Kansas City.
Who wins if it's right? I know we'll revisit Super Bowl, but if your pick is Packers and Bills, who wins?
The Bills.
I got Packers.
I don't trust Aaron Rodgers,
That's the one I trust.
so I don't like discount double check.
Oh, hey, Pat Mahomes stole that. That's why I think if it's Chiefs Packers, I think the Packers can roll with them offensively.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
think the Bills defense would be too tough for Green Bay.
I mean, it's gonna be a good game either way. But I
Right.
do think the only other team I would even consider right now is Seattle, because Seattle always poses a pretty big threat to Green Bay in the
Yeah.
playoffs. But if Green Bay's got that one seed and they don't even have to play Seattle, Green Bay could handle New Orleans like chump change
So
right now.
only one way I'd want Green Bay to win is if it guaranteed that Aaron Rodgers would retire and go away, and
I like Aaron Rodgers.
and, and stop making commercials.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I mean, imagine the investment State Farm could put in if it is Chiefs and Packers.
Oh, it'd be huge.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, there's gonna be some money to be
yeah,
made there.
yep,
Um,
definitely. So Kim, who's part of RMSR, she says that her pick for the Super Bowl is Green Bay versus the Bills, and she says Green Bay wins.
yeah, I would
So
agree with that. I think Green Bay is the team to beat right now.
yeah, I think they are, especially in the NFC. But I would not be shocked if Seattle beat them.
Yeah, that's really the only threat in the NFC. I mean, Kansas City is the team. I mean, overall, we look at it as a whole, and as much as it hurts us as Bronco fans to say this, Kansas City is the team to beat. They got one loss, and that's just it is. Pittsburgh, if they can get on rolling, if Pittsburgh can find a way to fix whatever issue they have going on, they are probably the most dangerous team. If Big Ben can get out of his head, yeah, I mean, the dude's physical limitations are huge. The guy's, a walking zombie
Right,
practically. If he could find a way to rein it in for just this playoff run, they are the strongest team in the league right now. They got crazy good receiving core. Their defense is phenomenal. It's stacked with talent from top to bottom. I mean, and Pittsburgh is one of those organizations that builds things right. They go through the draft. They don't put gigantic amounts of money into free agent guys.
right. So, um, and Kim says she doesn't think that KC goes to the Super Bowl this
I
year
think
personally, and
I think
I
Tennessee can
don't
derail them.
either. I don't either. Kansas City sort of struggled down the stretch. They've played some opponents, very close that you would think that they didn't. I mean, and I'm not gonna include the Chargers game because I know the Chiefs were
Yeah, it was
resting a whole
yeah.
bunch of people, but they've had some very close games down the stretch. So I don't know if I trust this Kansas City team. And
Yeah, and what it seems to be the key here is a lot of these teams that have kept it really close with Kansas City, Dolphins, Carolina. I think the Bills kept it super close too. Um, they allowed Travis Kelce to have the best game of his life,
mhm.
but they focused on shutting everyone else down. Kelce only goes 5 to 10 yards, so if you wrap up, you're stopping him.
Right, and that's all you have to do. I mean, contain the other guys. Let Kelsey go and have his Kelsey day.
Yeah,
But
that's what they did.
stop Tyreek Hill and slow down Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Antonio, or not Antonio, Le'Veon Bell. Stop. Now is he hurt?
Who? Which one?
I
Elaire or Bell?
I thought both of them were hurt.
I know Elaire was dealing with an illness. I didn't hear an injury though.
Okay, all right, maybe that's what it was.
But I mean, by the time they play, they got a first round bye. They're probably
Yeah,
going to be healthy. It's 2 weeks of pretty much sitting around, just twiddling your thumbs, waiting to figure out who you're playing.
yeah, that is true. So
Um, yeah, I mean, as we kind of come to closing down, we at 55, we usually go about an hour. Just bringing it back down to the draft and this new GM. The philosophy is going to be unknown, but like we said, highlighting Drew Lock, you know, it's difficult. I feel bad for the guy because you and I both said that he deserves another year. You said it earlier this week that as soon as Elway stepped down, I take back what I say. New GM could potentially mean doom for Drew Lock, and the media is starting to feel that way here. We're feeling that way. I mean, it just opens up to the reality of who at number 9 is worth it. If Fields and if we take a step back and look at that top 10, there's Jaguars, Jets, Falcons, Panthers who need quarterbacks. So potentially that could be
I
Trevor
just don't.
Lawrence.
I just don't see a Falcons grabbing a
Yeah,
quarterback that
I mean
early.
they're the one right now. I'm
They're
just highlighting rumored
Yeah, because they're committed to Matt Ryan for at least two
financially.
years financially. Yeah.
Yeah, financially they're completely
So
locked. So I think if you look at them, they're better for a later round pick,
right,
developmental guy.
or Trey Lance.
Yeah, Trey Lance,
Trade back and take Trey Lance.
if he drops, but some people are saying he's not even dropping,
I
even
just
though
don't.
even though he hasn't played. The reason why is because technically North Dakota State runs the most pro-ready offense out of all of them. He's they're like 75 or 80% of the snaps are taken under center.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's a big thing that's highlighting him, and he's a big dude and he's mobile. Um,
So if you're GM for the Broncos and you're sitting there at 9, and Mac Jones is on the board, Kyle Trask is still on the board,
oh, don't make me.
and and Trey Lance. I mean, do you take one of those three?
No,
No.
Mac Jones tempts me. He's not a physical guy. He's an extremely intelligent guy, which we're starting to see is a better trend. We're not seeing these big, massive, big, strong arm guys, aside from Josh Allen, really be successful lately. You're seeing these smaller guys, your Baker Mayfields, your Kyler Murrays, your I can't remember who I'm thinking of. There's one more. But you're seeing guys, the bigger guys. Daniel Jones is struggling. Drew Lock is struggling. Dwayne Haskins is struggling. They were all your not as
Yeah.
high IQ guys and
Right.
extremely physical guys. Well, this draft is jam packed with physical guys who have a higher IQ. So your Trevor Lawrences, your Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones is in that category right now of smaller quarterback. I mean, not as big statured, not gigantic arm, but athletic enough to make the plays they need to make, and they're extremely intelligent. Um, in a perfect world for me, if Zach Wilson fell to 9, if there's some way he can do that, that's the guy, hands down.
Okay.
If Justin Fields is there at 9, as much as I want to stay away from that Ohio State curse, I would take him.
You
I
can,
think
and I'll make the counter argument. You can say the same thing about BYU.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
So
it's true. Pac-12 quarterbacks tend to struggle.
right,
Um,
and I'm not going to tie any quarterback success to the college they went
oh
to.
no,
So
it's strictly just for fun and games.
it is.
Um, with the way it looks right now, Trevor Lawrence looks to be a lock at number 1. Even if Ryan Day or Urban Meyer ends up there, I think Trevor Lawrence is the guy, and I think management is going to say that's our guy, that's who we want. That's going to be the contingent if you want to come here. Lawrence
Right.
is who we're investing in. We feel he's the most going to have the best career. There's rumors New York Jets don't want to take a quarterback and rather invest in Sam Darnold.
That's what I'm hearing too, and they may take Sewell at number
Yeah.
2.
And
So
then you drop down to the next available would be
um,
Atlanta. There's financial
well,
concerns.
yeah, Miami doesn't need a quarterback at 3.
Miami doesn't need a quarterback. Then after the Falcons, there's not a team between 4 and 8 that need a quarterback. Then it gets to Carolina. They're
You know,
rumored to have interest in quarterback, but they're financially committed to Teddy Bridgewater for the next 2 years.
right.
And I mean, his cap numbers are pretty high. It's like 20 and 12 in dead cap if they try to cut him. It's just financially irresponsible. And you don't pay $20 million to a guy who's going to be your backup. You just don't.
No,
So I think
no, you
they've
don't.
invested to give him a 2-year plan before they have an out. Um, you
So
know,
is that maybe a Trey Lance and let him develop?
he's a good fit there. I don't think they would take a quarterback that early. I
Uh,
don't think they would. I'm starting to feel that they won't.
so you're thinking that Denver could have their choice of everyone except for except
I
for
mean,
Trevor Lawrence.
there's a potential for it. Crazier things have happened in drafts. You've seen quarterbacks slide. I mean, just look at a couple years ago. Drew Lock was looked at to be the number one guy. Kyler Murray busted on the scene, took over everything. Uh, Drew Lock fell into the darkness as Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins just flew
Right.
up the board. Every year truly is difficult to navigate. Some people are saying Mac Jones might be the number one quarterback right now. I don't think that's the truth,
Yeah,
but
Todd McShay said that.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, and I value Todd McShay. He's
right.
typically pretty accurate,
He's good. I mean, I don't know if he was
but
caught
I
up
don't
in the
agree with that
moment.
statement.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might have been caught up in the moment. It was during the Alabama Notre Dame game, and he said, Mac Jones is the number one quarterback in college right now, and Jacksonville will take him at number one, and if the Jets were number one, they would take him as well.
I mean, yeah, if he made that statement, he made that statement. Let him
Right.
live and
So,
die in that bed. I'm not hopping on that train.
right.
But what do you call it? The one thing that we have to be the only things that can kind of shift these things is teams like Tampa Bay, teams like New Orleans, Pittsburgh, who don't necessarily they have enough capital draft wise to move up. They're all
Mm-hmm.
later and they're going to be looking later. But you look at a team like New Orleans, who's significantly struggling with cap space, are going to have to find a way to unload it. Do they unload some of these key guys on top of draft capital to move in front of Denver? I mean, look at Miami. Miami's has cap room. They're looking to bring people in.
Well, and the Jets may be selling too.
Yeah, same
You
thing.
know, if the Jets don't want a quarterback there, that they may just want to fall back and get more draft capital
Yeah,
and pick up some players in the process.
I mean, I agree. I mean, new GM, we don't know what this GM's mentality is going to be. Is he going to want to move up to 3? Could he make the trade with Cincinnati if the Jets take Sewell?
Right.
Cincinnati, I mean, not Cincinnati. It's Miami at that point. If Sewell's out the board, I mean, Miami may not want to trade back because they have their eyes on maybe Chase or Devonta Smith. But Cincinnati becomes a realistic trade target at 5. Are they 5 now?
Mm-hmm. They are
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, so realistic trade market, target there. Maybe Miami is the trade target if they want to hop Falcons, if they feel they're going to take a quarterback. We really don't know what this GM's mentality is going to be in. If Fields is there at 3 and that's their guy, do they sell the farm? We don't know right now.
Right. Yeah, we have no idea. So, I mean, it'll be fun to watch it develop. Matt and I are beginning our work on, evaluating drafts, working on our first mock. Our goal is to have it out next Wednesday, and we'll reveal it here, even if it's just the top 18 picks, because we know where those picks are, solidified. Well, by then we'll know up through picks.
We'll know a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, we'll know up through picks 24. So, and I don't like to get into that lower half of the thing and not really knowing where people are drafting and where they're not. And you can sit there and project it all out and everything. But
yeah, well, I'll probably do a full 32 just because even if based off of things, the positional needs changed up a little bit. Not everyone at that latter half of the draft needs the same people. So I know mine will probably be a 32. Speaking of drafts, we got to highlight Dennis Russell. He'll probably be the first one to get his mock out on Rocky Mountain Sports Report. He submitted it yesterday. It's good to go. So it's going to be probably posted either tonight, tomorrow. At some point. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, make sure you guys go over to RockyMountainSR.com. We have a tab on there for NFL draft, and that's where all of our draft content will be. Mock drafts. We're going to have player profiles, team needs, and things like that. So it's a good place for you to go over and look. So we'll have a layout of where they're selected, where they're ranked right now, and if you just click on a team, it'll show you what their needs are, and then we'll fill in our mocks with who we think they're going to pick. So, but we look forward to doing that. Thanks everybody for joining in. Thanks for the comments.
I got one more parting shot. I don't mean to interrupt your close out there.
Go ahead.
So I think it's super just getting custom of me saying this every single week. So everyone that's watching, whoever's watching, if you're seeing this later now, we're always looking for talent to join us. We need content writers, we need podcasters. If you got the equipment, we have applications posted on our webpage. Also, we have contact information in the mini app on our webpage. feel free to shoot us a DM, anything. We got Rockies guys, we got Nuggets, Avalanche, Mammoths, Broncos. We need tons of we could use some help with draft coverage as well. So send us your app, send us some work in, see what you got. And we look forward to working with you guys. We value a lot of your opinions in the comments. We just if you guys feel you have the dedication and you could value a couple hours a week to this, get out the comments and get on the team.
Yeah, definitely. Come enjoy us, have some fun. So check us out on YouTube. Rocky Mountain Sports Report Denver, Colorado is our channel name. So check us out there. Subscribe and like.
Yep.
And
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Hit the thumbs up, as my kids
say. That's right. And then
that's my daughter's catchphase. She wants to be a YouTuber.
Yeah,
She's like, don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right. We're on Twitter at Rocky Mountain SR. Our website is RockyMountainSR.com. We're on Insta at Rocky Mountain SR. I know Alex is working on getting us set up on TikTok. We got a bunch of stuff going on. We got Avalanche podcasts on Anchor FM or on Spotify.
Yep. New one just dropped yesterday.
Yep, new one dropped yesterday. We have these shows. We will turn them into podcasts. We'll load them up there. So if you want, we think Alex and his new person, who we will not reveal who it is yet, but they will be doing a podcast, probably either a live stream or just a audio podcast. They haven't decided yet. So
yeah, we got his cool personality. That's what he's a little different than Dave and I.
Definitely,
he brings the fun.
Energy. Yes.
Yeah, there you go, energy.
Yes, definitely energy and passion. He brings it. So we hope to have him on soon, and who knows, maybe next Wednesday we'll bring him on to War Room Wednesday, introduce him, and get him introduced to the team and everything, and go from there. So. All right, everybody, thank you for joining in. If you watch us later, and you like what you see, let your friends and family know too. So we do more than just Broncos here. We do it all, so let them know.
Cool thing about it is, though, even though we're not live anymore, if you comment on that question that you had about anything we talked about, be sure to tag Dave or myself or another member of the RMSR team, and we will answer that question for sure. Once we get notifications, even if you're commenting later.
Yeah, definitely. So go ahead and leave us your comments, and we'll get you some answers. So, again, we appreciate it. Matt, what are you going to do with your Sunday?
Oh, this Sunday, I'm going to church. First church. Yep.
Man, we used to have 3 shows a day, you and I. Now we have none.
Yeah, it's gonna be lonely. I'm gonna miss it. Church in the morning, and then we'll see what the rest of the day entails.
So, that's definitely cold turkey right there.
Man, it's
3 to none.
Yeah. So if I'm active on Sunday afternoon on the group chat, or even on the group page, I'm gonna be posting. Who knows what? Maybe we have some GM clarification by Sunday.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I hop on and do a live because I'm bored. I'm just kidding. I'll go old school. Just click live on the page.
Hey, if you have something breaking, then do it.
Oh yeah, I contemplating it. I was contemplating it this Monday if I had time, but I was at work.
So, your boss won't care.
Yeah, maybe so. I'll ask her for permission next time.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining in, Matt. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday as we reveal our mock drafts. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you guys later.